Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take interesting sources and pull out the key ideas for you.
And today we're looking at something really fascinating.
Yeah, we're heading into a future that's, well, it's 50 years in the past now. There's just something about classic sci-fi, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. That retro charm, the um, the bold ideas about what might be.
Even when they got it wildly wrong, it tells you so much about the time.
Exactly. It's like a time capsule of hopes and anxieties.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We've got the brand new Space, 1999, the role-playing game here, coming out in 2025.
Which is amazing, thinking the original show was, what, 75 to 77?
Right, a full half-century callback. So we want to figure out how this new game bridges that huge gap.
How do you take a 1970s vision of the year 1999?
And make it a compelling game for people playing now.
Yeah. And our main source here is the game's core rulebook itself.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Before we get into the game, we need to understand the show's premise from back then.
The original Space, 1999.
So humanity's big step into space was Moonbase Alpha. Think massive. 4 kilometers across.
Start in 89, fully self-sufficient by 99 apparently, a real hub.
But it wasn't just science up there. It had this dual purpose.
Ah, yes, the slightly problematic other job.
Exactly. Research lab and Earth's nuclear waste dump. That's actually how they funded the whole thing.
Storing nuclear waste paid the bills, which, sounds like a disaster waiting to happen in sci-fi terms.
And it was. That's the Breakaway incident. The story goes there was this huge magnetic radiation buildup from the waste.
Kaboom.
Pretty much. 2 massive explosions, and the force literally blasted the moon out of Earth orbit. Gone.
Just sent hurtling into deep space.
Thrusting humanity onto the frontier, as the show said, far earlier than anyone was expecting. Talk about unexpected.
It's such a dramatic, almost operatic concept, really, very 70s.
But what about Earth before that happened? The show's vision of 1999 was surprisingly positive, actually.
Yeah, quite utopian in some ways.
Nations mostly working together, global committees, trying to wipe out poverty and hunger.
Higher standard of living for everyone, tackling pollution and climate change.
And socially very progressive for the time. People judged on skills, not skin color, sexuality, gender identity, all work respected.
Which is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
That level of optimism from the mid-70s projecting that onto 1999.
Especially compared to a lot of other sci-fi from that era.
Right. Very hopeful. And that context, that background, shapes the people on Alpha even after Breakaway.
So this is where the new game gets really interesting. How does it handle that massive disconnect? Their 1999 versus our 1999, let alone 2025.
Well, that's the clever bit. They don't try to hide it or explain it away logically in our terms.
They just lean into it.
Totally. They embrace the far-fetched stuff, the wandering moon bumping into planets every week.
Yeah, how does that work?
The rulebook basically says, look, part of the fun is this 70s vision and how different things turned out. It tells you to just go with it.
Okay, so suspension of disbelief is actively encouraged.
It's part of the genre expectation, really. A bit of meta-awareness.
What about the tech? That's always the big one in old sci-fi. The giant computers, the tapes.
Oh, yeah. The rulebook even has a section called Computers Do What? It asks the question directly.
So spaceships and lasers, yes, but room-sized computers printing ticker tape.
And the game's explanation is actually quite smart, I think. It says the tech is advanced for its time, sure, but it was built for resilience and reliability.
Not for fancy features.
Exactly. Think big chunky buttons you can press with spacesuit gloves, redundancy built in, simple electronics you can actually fix out there.
Ah, so function over form and repairability over sophistication. Makes sense for a base lost in space.
It does. Unlike our modern touchscreens, maybe.
So it turns a potential visual gag into a feature of the setting.
Precisely. It influences how you solve problems in the game.
Any specific examples in the rulebook?
Yeah, they mentioned the comm locks, those personal communicators. They also act as security passes and can locate people on the base. Pretty advanced for the 70s concept.
Kind of like an early tricorder / smartphone.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But then you have clipboards.
Clipboards, seriously.
Yeah, pen and paper on a clipboard is still the way most records are kept.
Where's a butt?
The paper is reusable.
Yeah.
You write with the stylus, then wipe it clean. Low-tech e-paper almost.
Okay, that's perfectly retro-futuristic. I love it.
Perfectly captures that blend. And they have this funny line about humanity's place.
Yep.
Saying, if our probes had worked as planned, maybe we'd be ready for interstellar travel in 50 or 100 years.
I didn't say what.
Instead, humanity essentially built a base on a bowling ball and accidentally knocked it into space.
Huh. That's brilliant. It just owns the premise, doesn't it?
Completely. That self-awareness is what makes it work, I think.
Huh.
It lets you enjoy the original aesthetic without constantly bumping up against modern logic. It turns the inconsistencies into charm.
Okay, so let's get into life on Alpha, according to the game. What's it like for those 311 people?
It's presented as, well, sterile, but super organized. A workplace, basically, but a workplace adrift.
With everyone divided into departments.
Yeah, clear roles, clear uniform colors, command in black, main mission red, flight orange, technical brown, medical, security purple, service yellow. Makes sense visually.
And no money changes hands on the base itself.
Nope. Salaries just piled up in Earth accounts.
Yeah.
Talk about deferred payment. It really highlights the survival focus. Everything's about the base functioning.
And the command structure isn't super rigid.
It's described as flat. Expertise matters more than rank sometimes. If you're the expert needed, you might lead, regardless of your official title.
Again, very much that progressive 70s ideal.
Ties right back into it. Meritocracy under pressure.
How about just the daily grind, keeping things normal?
They run on a strict 24-hour shift cycle. The lights dim and brighten to simulate day and night, trying to keep some Earth rhythm.
And getting around that huge base.
Automated travel tube lines. Little shuttle cars zipping you between sections. Essential for a 4-kilometer structure.
Sounds efficient, if maybe a bit impersonal.
Well, and then there's the social side. The game doesn't gloss over the difficulties.
311 people stuck together indefinitely.
Exactly. Described as like an extended family that doesn't always get on. Cliques, gossip, stress. It's all acknowledged.
Are there ways they try to manage that?
Yeah, psychologists encourage interdepartmental social events, trying to break down barriers and build community.
And relationships, like Koenig and Russell.
The game mentions those. Apparently, relationships were discouraged before Breakaway, but became, well, inevitable and maybe necessary afterwards. Human connection in the void.
Makes sense. What about the iconic tech they actually use?
Ah, well, the star is the Eagle spacecraft, right? The ultimate workhorse.
Not sleek fighters, but utility vehicles.
Totally. It's got that modular kit build design. You swap out the central pod, depending on the mission crew transport, reconnaissance, cargo, rescue.
Very practical.
Embodies that whole resilience over features idea again. Sturdy, adaptable, probably easier to fix.
And for personal gear?
Standard issue stun guns with stun and kill settings, of course.
A sci-fi staple.
And more powerful laser rifles for bigger threats. Medically, they have advanced diagnostic systems, surprisingly good for the era.
And cybernetics? You mentioned those earlier?
Yeah, things like mechanical hearts are considered somewhat common. Quite forward-thinking for a 70s show, integrated into the game world.
So all this detail, pulled from the show, expanded in the game. How does that help you, the player, get immersed?
I think it's crucial. You're not just told it's the future. You're shown this specific future.
Yeah.
With its rules, its look, its feel, its limitations.
It makes the world concrete, even if it's a bit out there.
Exactly. You understand why the tech is clunky, why the social dynamics are tense. It makes the whole 1970s vision feel grounded within its own context. You can step into it without feeling lost.
So how do you actually play in this 50-year-old future? As a player, what's the experience?
Well, you create your own character, an Alphan. You choose your department first that gives you starting skills and abilities.
Like choosing a class in other RPGs. Sort of, yeah. Then you develop personality through traits and hopes, what keeps your character going. Very character-focused.
And the game mechanics, dice and stuff.
It uses a dice pool system, mainly D20s, 20-sided dice, not D6s. And concepts modern gamers will recognize, like skills, attitudes, momentum, threat, spirit.
But applied to this unique setting.
Right. It feels contemporary in its mechanics, but the context is pure retrofuture.
And the game master, the person running the game.
They get a lot of advice on being flexible, tweaking rules, making sure the players have agency, letting the story unfold organically.
While staying true to the space, 1999 feel.
That's the balance. And the types of adventures are straight from the show. Alien encounters from primitive to practically godlike beings.
Weird space stuff.
Oh, yeah. Black suns, giant space brains, space warps, all the classics. Even things like ghost stories or psychological mysteries set on the base.
There's a lot of variety within that framework.
Definitely. And playing it means you experience that 50-year gap directly.
How so? You're facing problems with their tech, their understanding of science, their social setup. You can't just Google the answer or rely on super AI.
You have to think like someone from that 70s vision of the future.
Exactly. Ingenuity and teamwork become more important than just having the fanciest gadget. It's almost a commentary on how we view progress itself. You're inside that historical imagination.
Okay, so wrapping this up, space. 1999. The role-playing game sounds like it does a really clever job bridging that half-century gap.
It really does. It doesn't ignore the original. It celebrates it. It explains the quirks, makes them part of the charm, part of the game world.
Turning a potential museum piece into something actively playable and engaging right now.
Making that retro future vision immersive for modern players.
So the final thought for you, our listener, to maybe chew on.
What does looking at this specific future that was tell us about how we imagine the future today?
Does it remind us that the drive to explore, to survive, to understand?
That's constant, right?
Mm.
Regardless of whether our computers sit in our pockets or fill a room. Maybe the most resonant futures in fiction aren't the ones that get the technology right.
But the ones that capture the human element, the hopes and fears of their own time.
Makes you wonder what people 50 years from now will think of our science fiction, doesn't it?